everyone, it's been a while since I uploaded a book review and it feels so good to be back. Well, not entirely good because my braces have been hurting and I've been due to remove them since last week and I haven't been able to really schedule a visit to the dentist, which is entirely my fault. So yes, if I do end up talking funny in this video, then it's likely because of that reason. But hey, I'm still alive and kicking, so let's get on with the video. So for today's video, we're gonna be reviewing all the three books that I got from Kyobo Bookstore back during my trip last May in Seoul. Now, I kind of do regret that I did not end up vlogging my entire experience there because I ended up going to the largest Kyobo Bookstore branch in Seoul, and that was the one in Gwanggwamun Square. Adjusted my camera angle again. I hope you guys don't mind. So a bit about my experience to Kyobo Bookstore. The entire building is actually owned by Kyobo Corporation. And if I'm not mistaken, like a portion of that building was actually dedicated to their other businesses. Like one portion of the building, which I accidentally entered, was actually for, their insurance company. But anyway, for those who don't know, Kyobo Bookstore is actually like Barnes & Noble to the US, or Kinokuniya for those living in Japan, and Fully Book for us Filipinos. They're largely a bookstore, but they also sell other stuff like stationery, luggages even, and also K-pop items. But I went there entirely for their books. Now, I absolutely love buying books whenever I travel because the book selection where I'm from isn't exactly the best. We do get like some genuinely interesting titles here and there, but a lot of the books that come to my like local bookstores are really just those popular like best selling novels, which I do buy like from time to time. But whenever I'm in the hunt for something that's unique or that doesn't feel a little bit mainstream or like even an indie author, we don't have a lot of that here. I also wanted to find like another gem of a book like this one. I bought this in Kyobo last year and I just actually saw it in our local bookstore. It just came over. I mean, it was just shipped to my city just this year, and I happened to have bought this last year in Seoul in another Kyobo bookstore branch. And this book happened to end up being one of my favorite books of all time. Like, this is Love in the Big City by Sang-young Park. It is such a good book that perfectly captures the lonely millennial experience. If you're interested in watching my review of Love in the Big City by Sang-young Park, I'll link that video in the description. It is the perfect book for Pride Month and it's just a good book altogether. So let's get to today's video, which is reviewing these three books. Let me just introduce the books one by one. The first book is A Love Like Falling Petals by Keisuke Oyama. The second book is The Dallergut Dream Department Store by Mia Lee. And the third book is Banana Yoshimoto, The Premonition. I understand they're all not Korean books. In fact, there's just one Korean book in that list, but I really didn't see any other titles that piqued my interest when I visited Kyobo Bookstore. So the only book that I managed to pick up that was written by a Korean author was The Dallergut Dream Department Store. But anyway, let's start with my review of Love Like Falling Petals. Now, I was instantly attracted to this cover. It's pink, it looks like a hand-drawn artwork, and it looks so beautiful, and it's actually hardbound, and it really fit the theme of my visit to Seoul. Like, I was there because I wanted to check out the cherry blossoms. Although the book is actually set in, obviously written by a Japanese author and is set in Japan during springtime, I couldn't help but like relate it to my experience when I was in Seoul. I had just come back from Kyunghee University when I purchased the book, so I was super excited when I saw this. I was like, oh my gosh, this is fate. I think it also helped that it was on display, so I picked it up immediately. I was like, this is the first thing I was gonna purchase. Now, do I like it? Well, I kind of wish I didn't buy it in the first place. Now, if I was 12 years old, consuming all the Wattpad content that I could consume at 12 years old. And watching Mandy Moore and Shane West in A Walk to Remember, then I would have loved this book. It's super melancholic and it's really perfect for all those like Nicholas Sparks fans. Now, like, fast forward to the Jillian of today, I definitely do not like this book. I do not like Nicholas Sparks novels anymore. I mean, I used to eat them up during my teenage years, but right now I just don't think can stomach anything as dramatic and overly sad as this one. Come to think of it, I do think Nicholas Sparks and his novels are a little bit outdated by today's standards. No offense to whoever was a fan of his, but whatever, like, that's a conversation for another day. But overall, I just don't think that this is a good book. In fact, I did give it 2 stars out of 5 in Goodreads. 1 star obviously for the cover because it's so beautiful, like my opinion will never change about that. And I think like the 2nd star is because there is a very healthy brother-sister relationship that is presented in this story in the sidelines, although that's like not the main focus, but at least I think that's a redeeming quality of this book. Now, please do pause this video if you do not want any major spoilers. Now, basically, the main characters, Misaki and Haruto, are in love, and they're so deeply in love. I mean, like, the very first scene, he has like this major crush about her. Why he's attracted to her, that's really not explained. Why she gets attracted to him, that's not explored at all. It felt very insta-lovey. There was just no explanation. They were just in love. But in true Nicholas Sparks fashion, I can't get over the comparison. A serious illness does put a wedge between Misaki's and Haruto's love story. And that serious illness is progeria. Progeria is a rare genetic disorder that causes people, children most specifically, and although like in the story Misaki is actually in her 20s, it causes them to age prematurely, as in like over a span of like a short time, like your skin gets wrinkled, you get more susceptible to illnesses, and your bones start to get more frail. You get the picture. And if you don't, feel free to Google, because this book does not explain or go into detail about what progeria really does to someone's body. And that's probably like problem number 2 for me. Like, problem number 1 was the insta love thing. Like, insta love is okay, I guess, if you do it in a more natural way, like at least give some explanation on why these 2 characters are so attracted to each other. I just felt like they had a crush on each other and all of a sudden they wanted to get married and stuff. So anyway, number 2 problem is that progeria isn't really taken as a serious disease in this book. It's just like as if like the author searched for the worst possible diseases to bestow upon his character and said like, hey, let's go with progeria. I'm not gonna expand that in the book at all. Just that it makes Misaki miserable and all wrinkled and very insecure about her appearance, and like she's no longer worth it for Haruto. It just didn't feel genuine. It felt so cheaply done. And yes, that was a big problem for me while reading this book. The writer also has like this poor understanding of females. Think like John Green, except like the most generic version of John Green. He just had this one random female character throw herself and kiss Haruto, and later left that storyline hanging. And finally, I just felt like this book was so bland and boring. Now, I love a good and fluffy love story every once in a while. I mean, I did read like the Anna and the French Kiss series, and I loved that. That gave me butterflies. But not to the point that you take out every cliche and weave it into a book. Now, this wouldn't be a book review if the dogs weren't suddenly all noisy outside. So, bottom line, you're not missing anything if you're not reading this book. I'm sorry. Now let's talk about the Dollar Good Dream Department Store. If you thought I was harsh on Love Like Falling Petals, then I'm just gonna be a little bit more harsher. Now, I'm a bit superstitious. Like, whenever I read a boring book, I have this feeling like the next book that I'm going to pick up is something that's gonna change my life. But that did not end up happening because we went from a totally boring book to a bore fest. The Dollar Good Dream department store has been on my reading list for a while because I really wanted to read something whimsical for a change. And yes, this book was totally whimsical, but it was also very flimsy. And in the 200 plus pages this book has, nothing really happens. Now, I was drawn to this book because it was about a department store that sells dreams to not just people or like adults, but also to animals and to babies. But like a dream, it lacked any conflict, plot, and was totally forgettable. Now, I did not expect any orcs to show up or like a magical blue wizard threatening to destroy Dreamland or something. But if you're going to write like a magical book that has this like episodic feel, as in there are like sub stories weaved into them, you gotta make it interesting. You gotta add like intrigue, conflict, or something that the reader is going to end up caring about. Like, what was the entire point of this book? I get that the new character, Penny, I believe that was her name, or Peggy, I think it was Penny. She was new to her job in this like magical department store and that she wanted to apply to for the longest time. But that was the whole story. Now imagine like if it was your first day in your job and then somebody decided to document it. I don't think even the HR department would be interested in watching that. I think I was like at the 70% point of this book when I kind of realized that nothing is ever going to happen. I should have kept my expectations rock bottom. In fact, I was so relieved when it ended that I like clapped my hands. I don't necessarily hate that. Let me just put that out there. I just felt like there was so much promise and it failed to deliver anything. Now, if you're looking for a book that is magical, that feels whimsical, and that's actually interesting, I would better recommend the Miracles of the Namiya General Store. It does have that same feeling as this book, although this one's a little bit more whimsy and fairy tale like, but at least that book actually had a plot. Actually had conflict, had intrigue, had plot twists. This one does not have anything at all. Now the last book on this list is The Premonition by Banana Yoshimoto. We're ending this list on a positive note because I think that this book was the best out of the three. Okay, let me just put it out there. Banana Yoshimoto, love that name. She's a great writer, guys. There are writers that have so much skill in like building an atmosphere. I could almost feel this book. And when I was reading it, like it was like 31 degrees. It was like scorching hot. But I really felt like I was in a province in Japan during like a cold autumn day and it was raining. Like that's what I felt when I was reading her words. I was almost like in the same house as Yayoi, the main character. By the way, I love that name because it does remind me of a popular Japanese chain of restaurants. Now, this is a book that is filled with mystery and intrigue, and it is done very well. I never felt like the book was overwritten or like there were too many plot twists and turns. It was pretty straight to the point and it developed its characters very well despite the book being very short. And it also never really did stray too far from the subject matter, and uncovering the secrets of Yayoi's life like kept me like flipping the pages. I also have to give props to the translator as well, Asa Yoneda, because I don't think I have read a book that has translations as lush as this one. Someone that does come close to Asa Yoneda's work is Anton Her, who has translated for, I believe, oh yeah, my favorite book, Love in the Big City. He was a translator for that. But I think right now I have two favorite translators. Now, this book is really centered around grief and familial ties. And I personally think that both subjects are explored so wholeheartedly. I won't spoil the two big reveals for this book because I really do want you guys to check it out. It is a pretty short book anyway, so if you're somebody who doesn't read books often, I think that this is something that, you know, that would pique your interest and that you would find is worthwhile of your time. I don't know if you can hear, but there are some guys that are playing badminton outside of our home, and it's actually a public road. So I don't know if it's legal, but I don't want to be a Karen about it and just let them be. They're not harming anyone. I will say that one or two big minuses of this book is that it does explore taboo topics and it doesn't do it well. Now, the first taboo topic is that there are two people who were raised as siblings but are not really siblings, and they don't know it, and then they find out, and then they fall in love. Like, I won't sugarcoat it. Like, ew, what in the Brady Bunch is that? The book, in my opinion, like, it could have done so well without that subplot. Like, what was the reason? I don't even like the thought that in, like, Attack on Titan, if you guys ever watched that anime, like, the main characters actually end up falling in love, and then they also happened to be raised as siblings. And I also didn't like it when it happened in Dexter, and it totally ruined, like, the series for me. And that sort of thing does happen in this book, and again, if that's something that you don't like reading about, maybe just stay away from the book. Now let's get into something that's even more disgusting. There's, like, this relationship between a teacher and a student, and it is totally, like, lushed over. Like, it's just brushed off as cute and romantic, and it's not. It's not cute or romantic, guys. It's illegal. Someone call the cops, please, because that's really disgusting. And I don't care if the guy looked and acted mature, like a teacher-student relationship, and the guy was in high school. He was in high school. That's illegal. So yes, those are major minus points that really prevented me from totally liking this book. And if you want to steer clear of those topics, and if those topics trigger you in any way, then please just avoid this book altogether. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching this video. Sorry for all the negativity in some parts, especially in the first two books that I reviewed. I just want to give my honest opinion. Books aren't cheap, and I'm here to give you guys something to think about and consider before you actually make that investment or that purchase. Now, let me know your thoughts about the video, or if you ever read any of these books, let me know what you thought of them. Maybe you disagree with some of my points. Maybe you thought that I misunderstood the book. And let me know your thoughts, and we can have a very healthy conversation. Of course, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for sticking around. I know I don't upload a lot often. I mean, I just don't think that it should be like a contest. Like, I should read whenever I want to. And I don't want to force myself to read a book just for the sake of a video. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye!